And this brings me up to my next point. And boy, this is tricky. Because on a subconscious level, a lot of the fan base have a disconnect on the value of Julius Randle's contract. But when it comes to Julius Randle's contract, subconsciously, a lot of Knicks fans think it's a max deal, even though some of them know that it's not a max deal. And at the same time, they're expecting max deal performances out of Randle. Anything less is absolute garbage in their minds. And once again, all this is happening subconsciously. That's why the vitriol makes perfect sense. But boy, I'm not lying when I say this shit gets tricky. Because even the most acknowledgeable Knicks fans can get put in a trick bag on the value of Julius Randle's contract. And one guy I'm referring to is CP, the franchise from Knick Fan TV. He's doing a great job. You guys should definitely check out Knick Fan TV. But he definitely did an interview on one of Bill Simmons' podcasts in which he talked about Julius Randle, but then subconsciously, once again, he had mentioned him as if he's a max player. That's how deep these media games run, that they can throw you into a trick bag and you could be tricked out of your position, because later on I will pull up receipts on how valuable Julius Randle's contract really is, especially for the output that he's given us.
Because what we've seen here thus far this season, or as the season wraps up, what we've seen is that when his offense is impacted, his defense has been impacted. His effort has been impacted as a result. And
that's the last thing you want. You never want that. You never want that.
And so as a result of that, combined with the max contract, the pressures of building on last year's success, I think it's impacted him mentally.
Now, CP, the franchise from Knick Fan TV, he knows Julius Randle's not under a max contract. But that was his subconscious right there talking. And I've been noticing this the whole season, especially when I'm talking to some of you fellas on the live chat, 8th Avenue Conversations. Definitely check out the email list below to get notifications on that. But during the live chats, a lot of guys, even after I told them Julius Randle's not under a max deal, they still subconsciously, when making their points afterwards, still mention that his output has to match a max salary player. Even though I consistently point out that he's not even a top 40 paid player in the NBA. And for those of you fellas that are watching the video version, this is where I'm gonna pull up the receipts. Now first, as you can see, a tweet from Fred Katz. He does a good job covering the Knicks. He officially posts Julius Randle's numbers. And keep in mind, these numbers are in a season in which the Knicks have no point guard. So Julius Randle has been playing out of position, and he still put up almost 20 and 10 and 5. Of course, his efficiency, it should be down because he's playing out of position. He keeps getting the ball in these tight spots. He's not getting the ball in stride going to the hoop. So remember, these are the numbers that we're getting from Randle, and we're going to correlate this according to his contract versus other people that's getting paid around the same pay range.
We just going to peel it back layer by layer.
Now, as we can see here, Julius Randle for this season is the 47th highest paid player in the NBA. And we gotten 20, 10, and 5 out of him. Now, if you look at some of the players right next to him, Buddy Hield, John Collins, Malcolm Brogdon, Tim Hardaway Jr., Draymond Green, DeRozan. Of course, the Bulls are winning with that DeRozan contract. Jaylen Brown's a little bit higher than him. But if you look at that media circle where he's at, in between John Collins, Buddy Hield, Brogdon, Tim Hardaway Jr., Mike Conley, we've gotten plenty of output for the money that we're paying him. Now, what makes this even better is that the longer his contract goes, the more the salary cap increases every single season. So his contract, in comparison to the league salary cap, keeps getting cheaper and cheaper every single season, because the other players that are going to sign new contracts every year going forward will sign for higher deals. So his number being 47th highest paid player this season, he's actually going to keep going down that list every other season because the cap is going to keep getting higher. So we're going to get Randle at a discounted price. Even if you compare it to his later years where he's getting paid $25 million a year, $27 million a year, and $29 million a year. If you compare that to the guys that are getting it today, Gordon Hayward, Jamal Murray, Brandon Ingram, De'Aaron Fox, Donovan Mitchell, that's a rookie scale contract extension. Bam from Miami, Jason Tatum. That contract is not that bad, because by the time those years kick in, Randle's probably going to be the 60th highest paid player, because all the new players coming in, or just whoever comes up with a contract renewal, for the veteran players or the mid-tier players, they're going to get paid more than Randle does. Once again, the more years that go by with Randle staying on the Knicks, the more we get him at a discounted price because the cap keeps going up. And it's important not to fall for the media tricks here, because Randle's putting up 20, 10, and 5 in a season in which he has an incomplete roster with no point guard. This is what I mean when I keep saying the media could put you in a trick bag and trick you out of your positioning. Because you can even look at Jalen Brunson. He qualifies close for what Randle's going to make next season. He could get anywhere from $18 to $23 million a year. And that's just for next year's signing of a free agent class. The year after that, players like him could qualify for more money. So once again, every single season that goes by, Randle's contract in a way becomes a discounted contract. And the only reason that this is happening is due to Magic Johnson's fuck up when he was the president of the Lakers. Once again, the Lakers are the most successful dysfunctional franchise in NBA history. And the Knicks can capitalize off the Julius Randle mistake that they made by letting him go after the 4th year. Because Randle, even after his great performance in 2020 for the Knicks, did not qualify for a super max due to him leaving the Lakers in that 4th year. So once again, the Knicks do have Julius Randle locked in for all of his prime years at a discounted price, as long as he stays within the team for the next 3 to 4 years, as his salary every single year into his contract really gets cheaper versus the Knicks salary cap. Hopefully this creates a good visual for some of you fellas to see the value in Julius Randle's contract, especially Julius being a guy who's been putting up at least 19 and 10 for 6 seasons prior to signing this deal. He's already a player that's kind of a proven concept, that he has a certain stature that he can maintain, which is hovering around being that 20 and 10 guy. Because there's going to be players like Jalen Brunson, who does not really have that many years of proof of concept, who's going to sign a deal close to Randle's deal this summer. Once again, if you look at Julius Randle's high points of his contract for 2024, 2025, if you put it in a 2022 ranking, it would only equate to about being anywhere from around the 34th to 40th rank highest paid players in the NBA. So can you only imagine when those years come around, Randle's going to be all the way at the bottom. It's probably number 60, close to being number 70 as far as being the highest paid player. So this contract is really favorable. Yeah, so a lot of the hate is just really coming from the idea that people have in the back of their minds that Randle's under a max contract. And even though if people see the numbers and understand that we have him at a favorable deal, they'll still hate Randle. The same way the media was still throwing out articles about Julius Randle in the last 2 weeks of the season, even though he didn't play or touch the court at all. I found that very ironic. There was a lot of Julius hate, even though he didn't touch the court in the last 2 weeks of the season. That's how strong that shit is. And those same haters will be the same people that'll tell you the Knicks should start Frank Ntilikina at point guard.
You talking about you upset.
And some of those haters are going to have to let the 2020 bubble season, they got to let that go, man. That was a once-in-a-lifetime season. Julius did put up great numbers, but his numbers this season weren't that far away from that previous season. Even though the league did change the defensive rules, the only thing that went down for Julius was pretty much his efficiency, and that's because, once again, we had no point guard. But once again, for those of you watching the video version, as you can see, points-wise, Randle's only down 4 points per game. His efficiency as far as shooting threes and his overall field goal percentage is down, but his assists and rebounds are almost similar. So once again, once we get that point guard role filled up, Randle should go back to being his old self. Maybe his efficiency might go up, but I don't really expect him to average 27 points per game, especially when the Knicks have new additions on the offensive end, guys like Evan Fournier and RJ Barrett coming into his own. Randle's numbers should hover similar to what they were this season, but his efficiency should be a lot better.